Have you ever looked up at a dark night sky and felt just completely awestruck by the sheer grandness of it all? Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a really fascinating piece of 8th grade curriculum called the heroesmartacademy Godly Learners series. We're going to explore exactly how this source material attempts to reconcile scientific observation with biblical truth to paint a complete picture of creation.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our agenda for the curriculum. 1. The origin of the universe. 2. The Big Bang scientific model. 3. Evidence of intelligent design. 4. The ultimate first cause. 5. Science and scripture together. And finally, 6. Education, morality, and peace.
Section 1. The origin of the universe. The ultimate mystery. So, how did the universe actually begin? Where did all the galaxies, the stars, and even life itself come from? The source material posits that while scientific investigation offers some incredible clues about the mechanics of the universe, getting a truly complete answer requires looking at foundational scripture too. Moving on to Section 2, the Big Bang, scientific model, what science observes. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the curriculum defines the Big Bang theory strictly as a scientific model. It proposes that the universe started as this remarkably tiny, dense point that just began expanding outward. Notice the phrasing here, right? It's a model of physical expansion. It uses science as a tool to observe how physical things behave. And according to this model, this massive outward expansion began roughly 13.8 billion years ago. To put that staggering number into perspective for you, if a billion years were just one single minute, that's almost 10 solid days of continuous expansion just to form the galaxies and planets we observe today. Pretty wild to think about. But how do scientists actually know this expansion is happening? Well, through physical evidence, of course. One major clue is called redshift. When powerful telescopes capture light from distant galaxies, it literally stretches toward the red end of the spectrum. And that proves those galaxies are actively speeding away from us. When you combine that with background radiation left over in space, these physical observations point straight to an actively growing universe. Now, if you rewind that expansion all the way back, it brings us to what scientists call a singularity. That's the incredibly dense, fundamental point where it all began. But here, the curriculum notes something crucial. Science hits a massive wall. Our physical instruments simply cannot observe what existed before that tiny point. Which leaves us with some really profound questions. What existed before the Big Bang? If literally everything began from a singularity, well, who or what placed it there? And why did it expand with such flawless precision to allow life to eventually form? The lesson argues that science alone just cannot answer this. Section 3. Evidence of intelligent design. Order needs a designer. And this brilliantly illustrates the idea of intelligent design using a classic analogy. Think about a carefully crafted watch. With its dozens of tiny, precise moving gears, a watch clearly has a designer, right? It didn't just assemble itself from a random pile of metal and glass. The source text compares this directly to our universe. It's infinitely more complex, bound by strict scientific laws and perfect precision, and the argument is that it too absolutely required a purposeful designer. Another really great analogy the curriculum provides involves an expanding balloon. A balloon demonstrates physical expansion perfectly, but it doesn't just inflate on its own sitting on a table. It requires someone to actively blow air into it. The lesson presents God as that purposeful breath, providing the initial energy and direction for the universe to start. Section 4. The ultimate first cause. The who behind the what. Here, the curriculum breaks down a fundamental rule of both logic and science, cause and effect. Step 1 states that every effect must have a cause. Step 2 identifies that the universe began, meaning its beginning is an effect. Step 3 concludes that, therefore, the universe needs a creator, or a cause. The text concludes that this first cause cannot just be random energy. It has to be an eternal God. The lesson then anchors this logical conclusion right into the foundational truth of Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. From this curriculum's perspective, creation is absolutely not the result of blind chance. The idea is that without a divine first cause, there would be no time, no nature, and no life. Section 5, Science and Scripture Together, the complete picture. So the crucial point here is how the curriculum aims to show these two tools perfectly complementing each other. Science is presented as the tool that explains the how, giving us the mechanics of expansion, redshift, and all those physical models. Meanwhile, Scripture is presented as explaining the who and the why, revealing the ultimate origin and the core purpose behind our existence.
Remember that balloon analogy we talked about earlier? Well, that idea of breath ties directly into Psalm 33:6. By the word of the Lord the heavens were made, and by the breath of his mouth all their host. This really highlights the curriculum's focus on God's active, spoken role in creation.
And just to reinforce that this wasn't some one-time event where the universe was wound up and then left alone, the text points to John 5:17, where Jesus states, "My Father is working until now, and I am working." The big takeaway here is that God is viewed as continuously sustaining the laws of nature every single day.
Section 6, Education, Morality, and Peace, the HeroesMart philosophy. So how does this grand design actually apply to a student's daily life? Well, the core HeroesMart Academy philosophy argues that education without biblical morality is ultimately harmful. According to their teachings, true intelligence means aligning your choices with God's design so you don't cause harm. By citing Romans 8, they promise that combining scientific education with biblical morality actually leads to genuine peace of mind.
Let's move on and see how this builds into the homework. The curriculum wraps things up with 5 reflection questions for the students. 1. What does the Big Bang Theory propose? 2. What are the key problems with it from a Christian viewpoint? 3. How does the Bible explain the absolute beginning? 4. Why consider both science and scripture? And 5. Explain why order points to a creator. Really solid action items for reflection.
The lesson then leaves its students with one final, provocative thought to ponder. If the universe was designed with such precise order and undeniable purpose, what does that say about your unique purpose within it? It's a fantastic question designed to spark curiosity and wonder as students continue their education. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we'll see you next time.